make some good points, Ted. But don't be in such a hurry. This board will get all the powers it needs in due time.
You mean when you're chairman and not before?
Once we can call for persons and papers, it won't only be the bosses we'll have on the match here. I don't like to see people pushed around too easily, whoever they are.
You've changed. Over the years, I mean, haven't you? What is it? Age or shame? Afternoon, John.
Bye, Ted.
Still the same. Oh, he knows how to dress, live it up, and he's got a sort of presence. But he's no different. The old trade union leaders were eaten up with envy as well.
Yes, it didn't look like envy to me, more like contempt.
What he can't stand is not so much my being in the same party, you know, me, one of the bosses, but that I could so easily get a safe Labour seat.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sir John. Mr. Bligh.
She's a bright girl?
So I've heard.
Thank you. Well, John, have you thought any more about resigning from the export board?
When they make a Hypocrite of the Year award, Caswell, remind me to nominate you. But if you're as troubled that the two of us, both members of the same company, are on this board, quite fortuitously, if you're as troubled as certain people who've been writing letters to the minister and to the board, why don't you resign yourself?
Letters? That's the first I've heard.
So I can see.
And you've no idea where they came from, these complaints?
I know exactly where they came from. You happen to have a shilling, Caswell? No, it's all right. I got one.
Not to mention Oxfam. Whose is it?
One of the board's underpaid civil servants, I imagine. Get going before he starts hanging on the handles. Is that wide, John? You know where, Bissett. Have you got the tender? I mean, might as well parade it on a placard. Oh, you mean the meter? It was a bit obvious. You're agonizing, Don. Let's see that tender.
I hope you're not underestimating him like you did Corbett.
Corbett was lucky.
Caswell won't need luck if you pass him ammunition like that.
I'm indifferent to whatever Caswell, Bligh, or anybody else cares to make out of my feeding a meter for a civil servant. And I'll hear no more about it. Now, let's get on with it. No trouble from Kenneth.
He's been nosing around.
Much?
Increasingly, he doesn't like the secrecy.
And he doesn't know how far we've got.
He said yesterday the only people with a chance of getting the Carwendere Dam contract are Gregsons or the Dutch, and that they're as thick as thieves with the Africans.
Well, share his pessimism, Don. That shouldn't be too hard in your present mood. I want to see his face, and Caswell's, when we get it. And he fails to land the one he's chasing out there. Desmond's flight sport?
Out via Lagos tonight. It's only a hop from there.
More like a skip and a jump. People flying that line oughtn't to be licensed to fly a kite.
Just one thing. Kenneth probably knows the deadline for opening of tenders is Friday.
Well, he's bound to find that out. Lingard did the final typing, unassisted.
Solitary confinement, your office. I saw to it myself.
I want you also to make certain that Desmond has no time with Kenneth once you've given him this.
Overdo it, John. You could make Desmond curious.
He knows his job is to deliver, not to inquire. I think he was sufficiently impressed by the prospects I handed out to him over lunch yesterday.
Oh, I hope you're right. I also want this tender wax seal. Just in case Desmond's curiosity or his loyalty to the Blighs get the better of him. Wish he was careful over the other thing. You're an old woman, Don. Before I rejoined you, John, I made a condition about your giving an ear to my opinion. If it were in my interest. Well, I've listened and I've considered. And I think you'll age fast if you keep up with this. Miss it, you can drop me at Notting Hill Gate Station. I'll walk from there.
Oh, I thought by now you'd be well into your second or third at the reform.
You look deep in it.
Oh, it helps to give a fairly convincing illusion of activity.
You should have a big notice to stir at your peril, sort of thing.
Oh, I'm a civil servant, Mr. Bligh, not a tycoon.
Oh, never mind me. There's no hurry. Just finish what you're doing.
Well, if you don't mind, just carry on as if I weren't doing anything. If I get confused, I'll call out. But if it's about Bligh Construction's dual and quite circumstantial representation on this board, the subject is in abeyance. It's in the minister's hands now whether you or Sir John need give way. He'll decide in his own time if you won't be pushed.
Can't we get our people special parking concessions out here? Some manage it. My fat consultant who never leaves his desk in Harley Street, he manages it.
I'm sure, Mr. Bligh, that your car has not been molested by wardens. I'd be very surprised if the Rolls-Royces of our other two industrialist members had been treated otherwise, even when parked on the yellow lines.
I don't mean us. I mean the staff. John Wilder just fed a meter for one of them.
I don't think you'll want to be reimbursed from the Civil Service Benevolent Fund.
No. All right, Colin. From what I hear, you've been getting complaints about myself and John Wilder both being on this board.
You can't stop press comment.
No, I mean letters to the board from people in the city and industry.
I can't discuss letters to this board about its members, you know that.
The board's had letters, you won't deny.
Nor confirm, I'm afraid. Come in.
Oh, I didn't realize.
Hello, Miss Weldon. Oh, yes, I must go through this tonight, mustn't I?
I've made this summary of the Armaments Exports Committee, and these are the incomplete notes on civil engineering projects in the Far East.
There's still some notifications missing?
2.
And they are?
No, you're quite right, Miss Weldon. I'll come back, Colin.
I've named the companies here.
It's all right, Mr. Bligh. You'll hear nothing you're not supposed to. They've been prodded, I suppose.
Firmly this afternoon.
Perhaps you'll enlarge on their non-cooperation at the committee tomorrow.
Well, it's not so much deliberate resistance as inefficiency. They're both run by old men.
Oh, yes, thank you, Miss Weldon. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Bligh.
Good night, Miss Weldon. Your discretion does you credit. And to think I might have been wrong all these years.
I'm sorry?
In business, I've never allowed women within a mile of anything that counted.
Oh, I agree with you.
Oh, you agree?
That you've been quite wrong.
She's a cool one.
She's not some naive child from the typing pool.
I can see that.
She has a first-class economics degree, and she could debate most of our board under the table if she put her mind to it.
I wonder how discreet she really is.
If that's a general comment on women in the higher reaches, you're entitled. If it's personal...
Oh, it's personal. Very. Just take a look. So, it was her car that Wilder forked out for.
Perhaps you'll one day get the opportunity to be as considerate.
Sir John Wilder, the Samaritan of Whitehall. Just tell me one thing, Colin. These letters to the board that you can't talk about, who told Wilder about them?
It's most unlikely that anyone did.
Somebody did.
You're saying it was Miss Weldon?
Well, I'll put it another way. Suppose that was your car, or anyone else's. Do you think that Sir Walter Raleigh would have fed the meter then? Well, do you? Colin, you know as well as I do what's going on.
I've seen nothing untoward.
They've been meeting outside, you know.
My concern is what goes on inside.
So is mine. I want to know where Wilder gets his information from.
Are you making an official complaint?
Well, call it what you like.
You know who stands to suffer most from innuendo of this kind? We've had a plague of it latterly.
And not just innuendo.
And not usually verifiable fact, either. We should be very circumspect where reputations are concerned.
Well, Colin?
You know that Miss Weldon has signed the Official Secrets Act?
I'd have been very surprised if she hadn't.
And you still say that she's passing information to someone who should not have it, i.e. Wilder?
I said somebody is.
Your attitude is more than a shade discomforting, Mr. Bligh.
Then you better forget I ever mentioned it. Good night, Colin.
Good night.
Yes. Yes, Don's over, on his way with it now. And Desmond, I know you know the country, and I'd be the last to teach you to suck African eggs, but you will deliver it to the minister personally. Not the permanent secretary, nor his PA. Only to Aduba. Will you put Miss Lingard back on the line, please? Oh, I won't be in again today. When Mr. Henderson delivers it, see that the tender is wax sealed. And the 2 copies, not in my desk, put them in the safe. Yes, thank you. Well, you can take that off. We're going out.
No, I'd rather not tonight.
Headache?
Oh, I feel fine.
Chilly?
The heating's on, huh?
You know what I mean.
See for yourself. I've got a case full of stuff to get through. Not enough scotch?
No, too much. It was agreed that we went out.
Not tonight.
But I'm in no mood for an evening of Notting Hill Gate austerity.
I'm sorry, Sir John.
What is all this?
It would have been different if you'd had something urgent crop up at Bligh's, wouldn't it?
Well, it has. I'm expecting 2 phone calls from Henderson, one in 10 minutes and one at 11:30 when we get back.
Oh, treat it as your office, John. Bligh Construction's Notting Hill branch.
Are you sure you're all right?
I said so.
I see. Well, when Henderson calls...
John.
Tell him I'll be at the Matlow.
John. If you haven't fixed the courts, you'd better watch out.
Look, either I'm very tired or you've lost your facility for saying what you mean.
It's Caswell Bligh, John. He's begun to point.
He's been pointing at me ever since I joined Bligh's.
Not at you. In Townley's office just now, he hinted that I might be giving you information from the board. It's not the only time in the past day or 2 he's made it clear he knows about us. I find it uncomfortable, and I'm not sure why, and I wish you'd take it seriously.
Come on. Take that apron off. And the next time he gives you the one-eyed, closed look, tell him he's developing a twitch.
What about Henderson?
He's house-trained. He'll ring till that's back on again.
No, there was nothing in the entire command to touch our mess.
Well, I grant you one thing, General. You never made the engineers feel inferior. Cheers.
To Bligh's, Caswell.
Thank you.
I should have gone into commerce, you know.
Now that it's respectable, you mean?
I don't know about that. It seems highly profitable.
Not your line.
Alas, wrong sort of general. But you've not asked me here for a 2-man, 25-year-after reunion.
I suppose you know why.
I could be wrong.
From what I'm not supposed to hear, you're in security. I'd like a little guidance. If a layman, a lay member of, a public board is playing around with a civil servant engaged there. Would that interest you?
It could be of interest to security, Caswell. How senior is the woman? I assume it's a woman. Though one can never take it for granted these days.
Oh, it's a woman. And pretty high up.
How high?
HEO.
High enough. And she signed the Official Secrets Act, and he hasn't. And the NEB touches on arms exports.
Yes, I'm on that committee myself.
So even members like you won't see classified specifications, new weapons, tanks, aircraft, performance, etc.
Oh, I'm not worried about that.
Well, it's precisely what one branch of security would feel was important. However, there's someone else you ought to meet. He can be here in a matter of minutes.
Make whatever excuse you like. Make sure that you drive him to the airport. Keep his ticket. Lose his car. Make sure that you keep hold of his hand and that he doesn't get back to the office or see Kenneth. And I want confirmation that he's on that VC-10 and that it's taken off. Don, you are getting more argumentative. It spoils you. Goodbye.
House trained?
Well, he's developed bad habits under Corbett at Scott Furlong.
If we're going out.
You're right, I'd have chosen that myself.
Rapport. Even if it is your reserve wardrobe.
Oh, don't let's go into that. Not tonight.
No. Not tonight.
I know you by your photos, Mr. Bligh. Your press photos. I'm glad you said press photos.
See what notoriety does for you, Caswell. Now, with Hartley in the picture, and assuming there is something to all this, the people I know would only be interested in any possible leakage on the armament side. Hartley is concerned with the passing of information that might be of commercial advantage to an interested business organization.
In short, Mr. Bligh, in preventing corruption.
Don tells me that you have a complaint, Kenneth.
Oh, I wouldn't call it complaint. Exactly.
What then?
Well, it's more a question of liaison.
You look uncomfortable. Not really on your feet, nor either on your backside.
We don't mind, John, your originating projects, or even using estimating staff and planning engineers who are not occupied on less fanciful and unlikely schemes.
We?
I, then.
We. Ha! Join us, Caswell. You might find Kenneth's seat more comfortable than he does. Well, at least you appear to be well briefed. Or did you do the briefing?
No, it was my point and my own. In my view, less urgent projects such as Cavenderi should take their place in the queue for planning and estimating.
The adjectives you used just now were fanciful and unlikely, and you made your point with much more force before your father came in.
All right, I object to staff being used on something that is at best
A gamble?
a lost cause. I know what we're up against there.
I do not involve myself in lost causes.
Not in the airplane industry? Not with Vito?
That was not John's fault.
I suppose it was some office boys or the ministers or some poor designer earning peanuts. You're not dealing with mice in this industry, John. And I didn't build this firm for you to exploit its resources on self-glorifying projects like this far-fetched Cavandiri thing.
With or without your son's backing.
Your Blythe will outlive me as well, John.
Yes, but don't forget that you, as joint managing director, were in favour of my proposal of looking into the Cavandiri Dam project.
Looking into something does not mean diverting our ablest project engineers for weeks on end.
It does to me, as there would never have been a tender, at least not on time.
I'd like to see that tender before it goes off.
It's gone.
As the deadline is tomorrow, 4 o'clock. I thought you knew, Caswell. The usual public opening of tenders to avoid corruption. We are in an industry, Caswell, some of whose practices make train robbery look like deserving work for the charitable poor.
Why haven't we seen copies?
We?
I.
Oh, but you have, or should have.
Yes, Sir John?
Mr. Kenneth Blythe's copy of the Cavandiri tender, it was distributed.
And signed for, Sir John.
Thank you.
As I came in here, no doubt.
Oh, yes, quite probably.
And mine?
Doesn't exist. It's at a stage when it can only be seen by the joint managing directors, Kenneth and I.
I'm still the firm's founder.
And as such, just an ordinary member of the board, which means that you can say what you like about Cavandiri once our tender has been accepted.
You might as well try for the renovation of the Great Wall of China.
You'll find that it's the lowest bid entered. Here, take it. Without prejudice, of course, as Blythe's elder statesman.
I'll want to know what it cost to get out and what other work we've lost by its preparation. Sheer intelligence.
You can't know that.
I can't know what.
You said it's the best bid.
Right?
Well, you must allow for John's buoyancy.
Allow for whatever you like. It's a fact. Yes?
Mr. Townley is calling you from the National Exports Board.
I'll speak. Excuse me. Yes, Colin?
Good morning, Sir John. I won't keep you. I wonder if you'll be passing this way this morning.
Well, I could quite easily, if it can't wait. The minister has decided about Caswell and me,
I beg your pardon. Oh, no. Nothing like that.
Just one moment, Colin. Later, gentlemen.
Sir John? Oh, there you are. Look, I'd prefer not to discuss this on the telephone.
I'll be with you in half an hour. About 11 o'clock, then.
The forecast, I'm afraid, is stormy.
We're used to rough trips.
You don't know Sir John.
I know his kind.
Miss Weldon, you have the export credits inquiry file. Would you bring it in, please? Yourself?
I thought you were in a hurry to read that. Or did you merely wish to make your presence felt?
Oh, I've all morning. If it smells, I'll stop it.
Well, I'm due at the export board. If they're going to chuck you off, I shall insist that they inform you before they inform the press.
Well, it's nothing to do with that. They say about you, John, that you either put the boot in hard or you wear men down gradually.
This is no time for a teach-in on business techniques.
I'm not bootable. And I don't wear down.
Well, I should watch this immortality thing. The psychiatrists will be onto you like vultures. And I should examine that very closely and try to recall the last time Blythe's put in for an overseas job of that size with the lowest tender.
I still think you're a liar.
After you.
Sorry. Didn't think you needed it.
Just one or two things I wanted to look at.
Well, do you want me to turn them up for you? I know my way through it backwards.
No, I can manage. Oh, Mr. Hartley, Miss Weldon, my deputy.
How do you do?
Good morning.
You're not related by any chance to Mr. Weldon, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of...
No, I'm the first and very probably the last civil servant in the family. My father was in the church.
Really?
I have a male cousin in a motorworks, shop steward. No permanent secretaries, alas.
Thank you, Miss Weldon. I'll return it presently. I trust you found it useful.
I found it brief.
Well, this is my office, not an interrogation room.
I would like to have seen her reaction if you'd said Sir John Wilder were coming in.
Under the circumstances, that's the last thing I'd have mentioned. I don't know who starts these scares.
Scares?
Scares, scandals.
But often for the best motives.
Sometimes for the worst.
Oh, tut, tut.
Come on, dearie. God knows what it costs to get out. You won't get the contract anyway.
3 other British firms are tendering for Cowan-Deary. Orms, ABD and Gregson's. He could have come to some arrangement with them.
What about the Dutch and German firms?
Oh, the Germans don't stand a chance there, prejudice. The Dutch, I don't know about. He took out a fair amount from the information account recently and flew to Amsterdam.
Did he? How much?
Oh, I wouldn't want to bring on a coronary, Father.
How much?
Now, ask him yourself.
Get me pics on accounts.
25,000.
Cancel it. Well, there's one thing. I'd be surprised if he paid all that to make an arrangement with a British firm. In fact, now that we have to disclose our tenders in advance to the National Exports Board, I doubt if he forked out even a penny.
I'll not prevaricate, Sir John.
Well, you've ruined the day already.
What I'm about to say I don't necessarily approve of.
Cut out the flim-flam.
Not to mince words, I have to draw your attention to the dangers in any relationship between a member of a board, such as ours, and a civil servant on its staff. I mean extramural relationship.
You mean extramarital?
I find this so difficult. It's a matter of security. In terms of defense, where arms exports are concerned, in terms of commercial advantage in other areas. The civil servant, having signed the Official Secrets Act, is vulnerable, highly.
Miss Weldon?
Well, personally, I have no...
Well, her grandmother was Mata Hari. I come from a long line of Lenin's left-hand men, and in between helping the revolution, I'm lining my pockets and those of Bligh's shareholders from information got from sources which cry out for another Linsky tribunal.
You have every right to feel indignant, Sir John. I can only advise...
Do not say caution. Who started this?
It's a problem, Sir John, squaring security with a free society.
Who started it?
I have no idea.
And you prefer not to say?
I'm the one who's been asked to warn you that your friendship with Miss Weldon could be ill-advised.
And you? Where do you stand?
I'm secretary to this board. I'm simply a servant of the state.
That's what they said at Belston.
This is none of my doing, Sir John.
They said that, too. So, on the say-so of some anonymous slandermonger, I'm to be warned off, blackened, or whatever you say, and Miss Weldon transferred.
No, any question of Miss Weldon's transfer would have to be gone into with the utmost care.
Naturally. So, I'd better go and burn all the classified papers I shouldn't have and write out 100 times, don't make friends with lady civil servants.
I'm sorry, Sir John.
Save that for the one who began all this. Has your friend Kenneth said anything about the Cowan-Deary thing?
Well, he's smarting a bit, I suppose.
What do you mean, you suppose? Hasn't he had you in for a heart-to-heart?
He asked a few questions, yes.
And I suppose you gave him a few answers.
Well, he is joint managing director, John, and on your side.
I'm not getting at you. He's on anybody's side who's against his father. I bet old Caswell carpeted him this morning after that meeting of ours.
He did. The Bligh dynasty bit again.
When Caswell dies, he'll tyrannize his ancestors. He doesn't like Kenneth not being kept in the picture.
Well, Kenneth shares his feelings there.
And you think rightly?
Well, as I said, John, he is joint managing director.
Yes, I know, you're right. He thinks I'm up to something with Cavanderi.
Well, I wouldn't go
And
so far as to say
Caswell
that.
thinks I'm bluffing. Well, you can reassure Kenneth. He's right, and Caswell could not be more wrong. When I said that our bid would be the lowest, I wasn't guessing. We'll be 3.5% inside the nearest competing tender from a British firm.
Why pick out the British competition?
And I have this information from a reliable source at the export board.
Did you say Kawandiri or Harakiri?
We're in the same firm, Don. We're all in it together.
Kenneth could go to his father with all this, you know.
I thought you and he were great chums.
All the same, he might.
Yes, Sir John?
Miss Lingard, ask Mr. Kenneth Bly if he can spare a moment.
Yes, sir.
And if he doesn't go and throw what I've just told you straight into his father's face, he's got less guts than even Caswell credits him with. Of course, if this offends your amour propre, say so. I was at the House of Commons just now. I was with Ian Drayton.
The on-member for the police state.
He knows more scandal, he knows more about what security are on with than they themselves. He confirmed, in confidence of course, that my private life is under surveillance. So if they start asking you questions, refer them upstairs to who started it all.
Not Caswell.
Come in. Ah, Kenneth.
I was just on my way to a too-heavy lunch, anyway.
Blame Don. He's been on at me about not keeping you in the picture. Sometimes he's right. Scotch?
Thank you, yes.
With or without?
Unadulterated.
I see now that you should have been told that the tender had been prepared and that Desmond had flown off with it.
Well, I knew all that, John.
From Desmond?
Does it matter? Cheers.
But you hadn't seen the tender, had you?
You were pretty thorough.
Well, sooner or later, and Don thinks the quicker the better, you will know why I had to play it so close. I think even Caswell will understand. Oh, excuse me. Miss Lingard?
Yes, Sir John?
Would you get on the phone to Mr. Ted Newark and confirm that tonight will be better for me?
He knows the time?
Yes, he knows the time. You know him? Kenneth?
Only of him. As a co-member with you and father of the export board.
But you did know his father.
Same name, same job, both trade union leaders. I mean, they have their dynasties as well as us.
They?
The other side.
I hear he used to dangle you on his knee. Well, not recently, of course. When you were a boy up north. Another?
The easy way out for all concerned would be to transfer me. No reflection on you, of course, but we must protect the good name of the service, whatever we do to yours.
That's quite unreasonable, as you well know.
I know it's what'll happen.
In the first place, not all concerned seek the easy way out.
And yet you're saying I should talk to this, what's his name?
Hardly. He'd like to talk to you.
And there's nothing to talk about that isn't absolutely private.
Then why the fuss?
Transfer me and have done with it.
You will leave my department, Miss Weldon, only if you want to. Unless they can prove, and I do mean prove, that you have violated the Official Secrets Act.
I think you really mean that.
Which I'm sure you haven't.
Thank you. Wouldn't it be better for you, the easy way, I mean?
No. Only easier.
All right, I'll see him.
Tomorrow morning, then. Here. It would be best, I'm afraid, if I were to be present.
Well, I'm very glad we've cleared the air. I feel no doubt that Don can now let you know what's been going on. Now, don't let me rush you.
Oh, sorry.
I know he's been dying to. Miss Lingard, will you come in for a moment?
Well, Kenneth.
I want you to send a cable straight off to Desmond McGarry. It reads...
All right. Wilder isn't bluffing. You figured it out. You're brilliant.
Scotch. Thank you. Father, he beat you to it.
Did he?
On your own ground. The export board.
Say that again. I know where Wilder gets his information, and so will a few others. I'm not going to have Blythe dragged into this. I wouldn't touch this Cowandery job with a barge pole. Miss Tillingshead, you've got a number for that chap Hartley as soon as you can. And get a cable off to Desmond. It reads... That should interest you, Hartley. It's a tender.
I can see that.
Our bid. My firm's. For the Cowandery Dam in Africa. I've just washed our hands of it.
Why should you assume that this is anything but a social occasion?
Yes, you've got a point there. I'm not a foreigner. It's not deductible. Or is it?
It was about Caswell leaving the Labour Party, wasn't it?
That you mean? Bligh joined again. Hell, he was nearly picked as parliamentary candidate last week.
I wonder if they knew about the years he was out.
Likely not, it doesn't matter.
Not many people do.
What?
No.
You seem to.
I only know that he left the party in 31 or 32 and was out for 3 years.
And I was hardly out of the Prem.
Well, you won't remember much about your father fighting the Mosley crowd.
Oh, that's a long story, John.
John. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Read that. Well?
Well, you didn't expect him to disobey you, did you?
I wasn't quite sure of Desmond, but I like that. Stop press, one counter order being duly ignored. Yeah, sense of humor.
Well, yes. Yes, Miss Lingard?
Oh, is Sir John there?
Yes, he's here.
Mr. Hartley is calling him.
Put him on. Oh, put him on.
Hello, Mr. Hartley. Good morning.
I was wondering when we could meet, Sir John.
Well, when do you suggest?
As soon as possible. This afternoon?
Well, why not this morning?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm tied up this morning at the Export Board offices.
Then you'd better untie yourself. I shall expect you at 11.
I quite understand. Well, this afternoon is fairly booked up, but I'm sure we can adjust. Very well, Hartley. He said something crop up that's more urgent.
So we can all creep back to our burrows until he's ready for us.
I see. And where did you sniff out all this garbage about Cowandiri?
I can't disclose that.
I trust not from one of your usual sources. Bloody unreliable.
That's your opinion, Sir John?
Yes, Sir John.
Miss Lingard, will you bring in my passport, please? So, I know what all the other tenders are. Hmm?
I didn't say you know. I said you might.
By that you mean that I do know, and from a certain source. Thank you. Oh, Miss Lingard, see that a copy of this cable is delivered to Mr. Bligh immediately by hand. Since you're so interested in the commercial activities of our firm, I might tell you that that cable is from our man in Cowandiri. Our prospects are bright. I might even say foolproof. I don't know what the other tenders are. I don't need to. You will see I was over there 3 weeks ago. It's interesting how they've developed our British sense of fair play. It must not only be fair, it must be seen to be fair. They even have a public opening of tenders. And at tomorrow's, ours will be the lowest.
Because you know the figures.
No. No, I know the man who opens them. The minister, very civilized. He went to one of our best English public schools.
And he alters them for you.
Oh, no. No, he fills in the blanks where necessary. 3.5% below the nearest competing tender.
That's quite a service. Is it expensive?
You stick to your present job. There's a pension.
What's this?
Well, I should have thought it was self-evident. You know, Hartley?
Yes, we met.
When he first came, I thought he was looking into your murky political past, Caswell. The 30s. But no, no such thing.
Yes. So we got the same message from Ian Draper.
Prodded by Wilder.
Oh, no doubt. Not that he needs much. I've talked to Bligh. He joined the fascists all right. In a moment of desperation, when the streets were thick with unemployed. When he saw what they were really about, he got out, he says, pre-DQ. Dossier bears him out, and I believe him. Did you learn much?
How to succeed in business.
Well, watch out they don't put you in the fraud squad.
You know, it's marvelous. Wilder enters a tender with blank spaces where the final figure should be, and then gives copies to the Blighs with the final figures on. Meaningless ones.
Confusing the enemy, eh?
It's what they call a rat race.
Well, I don't know about you, but they're not using my department as an instrument for personal vendetta. They can tear each other to pieces, but not with my weapons. Carry on, Hartley.